All right, let's get started, everybody. Please settle down. He says it's on. I believe him. All right, quiet down, quiet down. Let's get going. We've got a lot to do tonight. We've got some business to take care of. We have an awesome presentation coming up. So let's get going. All right, all right, all right. Chill, chill, chill. You'll have time to talk after the meeting tonight. All right, our intrepid vice president, the guy that organizes all of our wonderful presentations, could not be here tonight. He's taking care of his lovely wife. She had a procedure done today, so he's asked me to do the introduction. So, introducing tonight, we have a presentation about amateur radio and balloons, and it's going to be presented by Kipton Moravik, AE5IB, and Doug Kilgore, K5DOG or KD5DOUG. I'm sorry, I'll get it right. I should know these things. And they're both from the Plano Club. Plus, they also have been involved in balloons. There's been balloons being done around North Texas for longer than you might realize. So let's give them a hand. Let's let them show us what's going on.
All right, Doug is actually. Are you a member of Plano? Yeah. Okay. But he's more active in the Richardson Club. So, all right. So RWK PHAB, Richards Wireless Club, and the Plano High Altitude Balloons. And this will be our 17th launch. So we've been doing this for a while. Or no, this was our 17th launch in July of 2021. The only reason we haven't done more is that we haven't had anybody come up with some new payloads that they want to do. So if you have an idea for a payload and you want to put together a payload, we will apply it. It costs, the basic requirements are try to keep it under a kilo, which is 2 pounds, which is pretty easy. Try to, you have to make it insulated, and we'll show you some examples here because it gets really, really cold up there. We found that if you put a window on the outside of your box to take pictures through, it freezes up. Don't do that. You just have to have the lens sticking out, and there's enough heat mass in the camera that will keep it from fogging up. But yeah, if you have kids that want to do something for science fair or something like that and want to send up, we usually go about 100,000 feet. The most we've done, and that was trying to go high, so we had very little payload, but in a big balloon, we went 131,000 feet. And at the time, it was the 8th highest. I don't know what it is anymore. There's a website out there that keeps track. But that was kind of cool. Okay. So this is basically the high altitude balloon We usually have a latex balloon. They come in all different sizes. 600. It's basically based on the weight of the balloon. So you have 600 grams, 1,000 grams, 1,200, 1,500, and then I think I've seen like 3,000. 3,000 grams. You can use helium or hydrogen. We have the equipment for either one. The equipment where it screws into the bottle, one is right-handed thread and the other's left-handed thread. So you can't have an explosive gas accidentally get put onto the wrong thing. Our target altitude is usually 100,000 feet. We keep our payloads below 12 pounds, and that way we don't have to get permission from the FAA. In the beginning, we used to, even though we were less than 12 pounds, we used to contact them, and they do what they call a NOTAM, notice to airmen, and let people. And a couple times when they were bored, they kept in contact with us, and we sent them to the APRS FI site, and they could track it. And then they would call airplanes and say, "Can you see it?" And so that, you know, but when we're really doing this seriously, they had us call them every time we hit a certain altitude. And then once we were past about 40,000 feet, they didn't care. But then coming back down, they wanted to know at certain altitudes. So we had to have one guy pretty much dedicated to being the liaison to the FAA. And that got old. So we don't do that anymore. So payloads, we have trackers, all different kinds, but usually we definitely have two APRS trackers, one near the top of the stack and one near the bottom, because and all this is because we learn things as we go. And it wasn't us, but one that Doug participated in. The rope broke in the middle. And the bottom half fell to the ground, but it didn't have a tracker on it. And
But it had a sign on the.
it had a sign on the outside, and
I got a call.
yep. Tell them about the call.
Monday morning, I got a call from somebody in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That there's something in the horse pasture beeping, and it was scaring all the horses. I told them how to turn the thing off, but my wife and I drove up to Baton Rouge that morning and picked it up.
So that got us saying, okay, we need a tracker at the top and at the bottom in case something happened. A lot of times we'll have a repeater. Usually it'll be a crossband repeater, but we've also had simplex repeaters. So you talk, you let up, and then it'll repeat what you said so that other people can hear it. And so it's a simplex repeater. Different kinds of environmental sensors to see how cold it is, or, you know, what the temperatures are, how cold it is, the temperature, the humidity, the air pressure, stuff like that. And just anything else that people think are cool. And you'll see some different things in this next launch that we're going to do that you probably hadn't thought about. So the mechanics, the balloon, if we go with a 1200 balloon, they cost about $100. We've been going with hydrogen because helium is expensive if you can get it. There's a shortage of helium, and so so we can do about $104 for air gas, from Air Gas and McKinney for hydrogen. At first we were a little afraid of it, but then we saw that the National Weather Service, all their balloons are hydrogen. All their weather balloons that they send up are hydrogen. We have we usually carry a 4-foot parachute, and then we have a ring at the bottom of the parachute that helps keep the wire or the ropes apart, so that when the balloon does pop, it's already ready to spread. You can kind of see it up there. This doesn't have a pointer. Up at the top. Yeah, right there. There's a balloon, and then there's a little hoop spreader. And then, and as you can see, that's how we normally do our payloads. We put about at least about 10 feet between our payloads so they don't interfere with each other. And the reason the FAA wants 12 pounds is that's like a goose. So if a plane can survive hitting a goose, well, by us also spreading our payload, our 12 pounds over 60 feet or something like that, we're not worried about hurting an airplane or anything like that. And then we have fishing swirls. These things spin. It's amazing how much they spin. If you see some of our cameras, you'll get dizzy because they're just constantly spinning. So we put fishing swivels on there and to help us with that. Trackers. Okay. We usually run on the normal 144.39 APRS frequency. And we always fly with a known good tracker. One of the problems with GPS is most of the GPSs you will get don't work above 32,000 feet. And you don't know it until you try it. And if you ask them, most people don't know if what they're selling, if it will go up that high. And the reason for that is when they first started with GPS, the government said they didn't want it to be put on missiles. And so they said, okay, you can't go higher than 32,000 feet, or you can't go faster than a certain speed. And some manufacturers took that as an and instead of an or. So they only really needed you to not do one of the two. But some of them said, well, we're going to be safe and we're going to do both. And so, yeah. So, but some of them, like the Argent and the Bionics, can go that high. The U-Blocks is the one I like the best. It normally doesn't, but you can get off their website a configuration tool, and it will let you reconfigure their GPS to be in different modes. And the normal mode is automobile mode. So it's assuming you're like in a car driving around, and it tunes all of its values for that. But they also have like a walking mode. So it tunes more for somebody that's just walking. They also have a stationary mode, which tunes to get you better time. So it's assuming you're not moving, and so it starts optimizing your time. Or they have like 3 airplane modes, and we use the least dynamic one, the airplane one, because we're not planning on doing, all these maneuvers. And so that's why I like the U-Blocks. But you have to remember, you can set it, but you also there's a different command to save it. Because if you set it, it'll work until you lose power. And then it goes back to the default settings, unless you hit the save, which is a different command. And I've been guilty of not doing that. Okay, so Andrew's been working on some different payloads. One of them is a DMR single frequency repeater. I have not seen this. This is new, so I have not seen this one in operation. But it'll be on 441 megahertz. And I'm not familiar with DMR, so maybe those other things make sense to you. We also do a crossband repeater so that we transmit. I think we transmit on UHF and receive on VHF. I think that's how it works. I'll have to look that one up. But we've flown it before. It works well. You don't have to have a lot of power. We have our APRS is running about 1 watt, and we have been picked up in St. Louis. So you can get on APRS FI and see who can see your thing. And the farthest we've seen was St. Louis. Now, 80,000 feet is a good height for an antenna. It doesn't take a lot of, it doesn't take a lot of power. Okay, so then he's got one that's based around a Raspberry Pi, and he's got a camera to record video, and it also takes still images. It's got a Bofang HT, which can do slow scan TV. He's got their program. He's got the GPS on there. He just got another U-Blocks. Yeah, they're getting down like $10 on Amazon. You know, it's just amazing. And then, like you said, you can configure it so that it unlocks the high altitude. And then, I haven't played with LoRa, but he's got LoRa on there, and it beacons the position once per second. And he's got it set up in Richardson to be able to receive it from his house, just so he can see how far he can go. And then he's also got one in his truck, and it's just something new to try. Yeah, this is the LoRa system. And it's slow, but it carries. Let's see, his receive. Okay, he's got the low power receiving setup as his receiver. He uses a Raspberry Pi Zero for his receiver. He's got the radio from Adafruit and a diamond antenna, and that's his home setup. He also has a radio at home to crossband repeater record, and then with his antenna. And so he should have, by the time of our next launch, he'll have a DMR recorder too. So this will be all at his home in Richardson, hopefully being able to receive wherever this is, because like I said, altitude is everything. All right. Usually we don't pick a site that we'll launch from until just a few days before the launch. We have there are simulators out there where we give them our estimated speed up, altitude, how many feet per minute that we're going to rise. And it will calculate based on the winds at different altitudes where this thing is going to go. And it's actually not too bad. I mean, it's usually within 5 miles of the landing, which is not bad at all. Of course, a lot depends on if you set it up right. But what's really interesting is, like on that first one on Monday, you can see that at lower altitudes, it's heading southwest, and then it turns around, and then at higher altitudes, it's going east. And then you see there at the little pop in the middle, and then it's floating down on the that's where the balloon pops, and then it floats down, and then you see at the end where it ends up landing. And again, yeah, see, that's too close to the lake for us. We have landed in the lake, and Andrew did go swimming to get it. It was a little chilly. But our goals are no lakes, no cities, no airports, no trees. And we'd like to have food somewhere at the end.
How do you wind up in Baton Rouge?
Well, first of all, when you lose half the weight on your balloon, it goes higher, and therefore it catches the winds. It landed someplace. It overflew Barksdale Air Force Base and landed in an oil field someplace in Louisiana. But that was amazing.
Yeah. So we originally were planning this one in Anna High School, but we moved it to Aubrey because it would have put us too close to Lake Ray Roberts, and we did not want to go swimming again. But you can see that the weather changes day to day. So we had that, using Monday's data, and then Wednesday's data, and then Thursday's data, and then Friday's data. So that's why we wait. And it's amazingly, it doesn't change a lot. As you can see from Thursday to Friday, it was not a big change in the pattern. And so we assume that on Saturday, it will be similar. Won't be exactly the same, but it'll be similar. So that gives us an idea of, okay, so by Friday night, we know where we're going to launch. I'm sorry? Okay, well, yeah, I'll get to, well, I might as well do that now. What we do is when we fill it up, we try to go for 4 pounds of free lift. And what that means is that if we have an 8-pound payload, then we want a lift on the balloon of 12 pounds. So it's 4 pounds more than our weight. That's what we call free lift. And if we do that, we are running about 1,000 feet per minute altitude. So if we're going 100,000 feet, that's 100 minutes. Yep. And then coming down, it's a little bit faster, but not a lot. But well, no. It's at that rate, it's going up. It doesn't level off. So if we tried to go with smaller lift, like 1 pound lift, we would get to a point where it would level off, and then it would just keep going and maybe not pop. And well, there are some guys that like to do these really light balloons with light payloads. Their payload with their what's that? Pardon?
Solar cell.
Yeah, they have a little solar cell, and they have whisper mode. That's what I was thinking of. A whisper mode, and their whole thing is measured in ounces. I mean, they're like, they try to get the weight of that thing like a nickel, the size of the weight of a nickel. And they use Mylar balloons because they don't leak. And some of them have gone around the world 2 or 3 times.
See, there we go. Unless the Air Force shoots you down.
Yeah, unless the Air Force shoots you down. Yes.
The steering wheels don't look like the ones we get for most of
It summer is good. What's interesting is early spring or late fall, or when we get we've hit the jet stream before. And fortunately, it's not very deep, but we've had our balloon going 115 miles an hour. But fortunately, it's only for a couple minutes, But yeah, you're sitting there tracking it, and all of a sudden, whoa! Yes. It depends on how big of the balloon is, but around the 1,200 would be about 6 feet, 6 to 8 feet, somewhere in there. And that's one of the reasons you'll see when we're filling it, we're wearing the blue gloves, because we don't want the grease from our fingers, because that will put a weak spot in the balloon and it'll pop earlier. All right, chase vehicles. So this is the other fun part about it is we don't want to just launch it because we got too much expensive equipment in it. We want to get it again. And so, of course, if we mostly follow with the APRS. For instance, so you have to be able to receive APRS. Well, since not everybody has equipment to receive, what I do is I not only receive, I repeat it and I put it on the internet. So I use my cell phone as a hotspot. And so I put on the internet. And so anybody can track us using APRS-FFI on their cell phone. So if you're interested in doing this, that's one way to do it, is you can just come with your cell phone or a computer or whatever you want to use and follow, even if you don't have an APRS receiver. And then he's also gonna have a low rod decoder in his. I probably will not. We also run a simplex net or just simplex between all the chase vehicles. And we would like to have APRS trackers in the chase vehicles so we know where everybody is, and so we can keep track of where everybody is and try to figure out who's going to end up closest to where the balloon lands. Because based on the roads out in the sticks, you can't always get there straight to where you're going. You may have to go way this way or way that way or some other way to get to where you think it's going to land. And then in his chase vehicle, he wants to be able to, if you want to talk on the repeater, then you need a radio to talk on the repeater. And if you want to do DMR, then you need a DMR radio. And if you want to receive the SSTV, then you've got to have something to do that. And then again, we consider our landing circumstances. Each time we go, we find a different circumstance. So the first time we got caught in a tree, so we carry a saw now. We have landed in the lake, so we got a little boat that can blow up. I got a little handy talkie that does APRS, so I can look at it and it'll tell me what direction the thing is from that. Because sometimes I'm not just in my car. We have to get out of the car and go find this thing. The other thing he's done is he's gotten he uses his the last couple launches, he uses his drone and he can fly up and find out where it is. So then we know who to ask for permission. It depends on how far away from the road it is. If it's a long ways, then we go try to hunt for permission. If it's really close, we'll just jump the fence, grab it, and get out of there. And then sometimes out in the sticks, you lose your cell phone coverage. So yeah. Let's see. Then the other thing he's got his Yaesu. You don't have to have all this stuff, but he likes this stuff. So he's got his Yaesu with on his front antenna for the crossband repeater and the APRS. He's got the Kenwood on his rear end for the simplex that we use for the chase vehicles. And then he's doing the SSTV on the B side. He's got his Raspberry Pi for his low raw. He's got an Anytone in his cup holder. He's got a Panasonic laptop and a USB hub to hook everything together. Yes.
You talk about chase vehicle. for this truck.
Yeah. We are talking about a pickup truck. No, he's not. No, he's not using that. Yeah, this is pickup truck. Okay, this is Tony Campbell's vehicle. I usually ride with Tony, and in the past, Tony's been more in charge of the payloads, so he works on like getting the balloons or the here's the ring for the parachute. So it just makes it so that the wires don't get as tangled. And also gets, as the balloon's coming down, it helps the balloon open up. And so he weighs each payload and strings them together and makes sure that, we don't have breaks and that everything is secure. While he's doing that, then that's me over there probably. I work on the balloon. So that's like a 1,200 gram balloon. And there's our tank. And we have a regulator on there. And then we start filling it up. And we put it on there so that it doesn't break on the grass. We just don't want, we have a tarp for that so that so before we part of the payload checklist is they want to make sure that all of our GPSs or all our APRSs are working and they're giving us valid positions. It's actually amazing when you track both of them, how they sometimes get off from each other. You'd think they'd be right underneath each other, but they're not. So they get so we want to check all of our payloads, make sure they're working before we launch. If we've got the so all of our APRSs, our crossband repeater, we want to test that out. Use the SSTB and the LoRa and the parroting and the DMR, and then he's got also a 360-degree camera that is kind of cool to watch. And if at that instant they're not working, they're not flying. So that's our last final check. So that's me on the ground, filling it up and checking. So what we have is a scale here, right between that guy's feet. All right. And there is. Aha, there we go. So there's a scale with some weights on it, and we have about 20 pounds of weight on the scale. And that's the way we know how much the lift is. So if the scale, we zero it at 20, and then we can see how much lift we are. It's kind of hard because usually there's some wind blowing. And so it's bouncing up and down, and we're trying to estimate, what that number is really kind of in the middle. And like I say, we're trying for 4 pounds of free lift. And as you can see, everybody has got gloves on that's touching the balloon. Because it starts getting a little crazy. And there's Andrew. And he's got his camera. That's his 360-degree camera. And he's got looks like a walkie-talkie down there for one of his, I don't know what that one is, one of his repeaters. And that's Tony, who's our payload guy, usually. And and that's his truck, that Titan. So you can see the antennas on top. And this is Doug's thing. Do you want to talk about your payload?
I do. Yeah, all right.
Okay, this thing has been up several times. We talked about the one that landed in the lake. This kept all the payloads and he was able to swim out and pull them all in because of this. Okay, inside there, we have a radio. Actually, we had two radios, one a 2 meter, which is hooked up to the tiny track 4 TNC, which is being fed by an Arduino that had the temperature sensors outside. And so it was all beaconing APRS with telemetry sensors on the transmissions. In addition, Roger Stearman, WA5VYU, had a 6 meter handy talkie. So I connected one of these Radio Shack parrot things from many years ago. We hooked that up so that you could transmit on simplex. And then when you stop, it would play back what you transmitted. So we were going to go, nobody'd had a 6 meter transmitter on a balloon. So we were going to try something new. And you can see this antenna here sticking out the top for 2 meters, but we had a half wave dipole, one half going up, and then we had a little weight down underneath for the bottom half and the wire. You can see that little blue thing over there to the right of that. That's attaching the wire to the string. Yeah, there you go. And then there's another one up on top, but that was our half wave dipole. Okay. Next.
All right. Yeah, this is where I'm really trying to get an idea of how much our free lift is. So, like I said, we zero it at 20 pounds of weight, and then we see how much it's lifting. And like I said, there's always a little bit of a breeze that makes that jump all over the place, but we try to do our best. Okay, now, again, from experience, we have found the best way to do this is what we call a tethered launch. And what we do is we get a long piece of cord and we run it up to the ring that's at the bottom of the balloon and then back down. And we have one person on each end holding it, and they're far apart. And then when we get ready to launch, those two guys start walking together. And as they walk together, the balloon goes up and up. And then when all of the payloads are off the ground, one of them will let go. And then the payloads will go up. Well, what happened this time? Okay. Is it later? Keep going. Okay. What happened this time was we hadn't done this for a while because of COVID, because we didn't launch during COVID. And I thought they understood how it worked. And one of them got excited and let loose too soon. And all of our payloads were not off the ground. And we'll have a video that shows you what happens when that happens. Oh yeah, that was the other problem. They came together too close without, and they weren't at the end of their wires or their ropes. So when they got together, all the payloads weren't off the ground because they weren't at the end of their string. So we had to bring it back down because this thing likes to spin, so we could start over again. And then, like I said, when they got too close again, then they let up too soon or let loose too soon. So I just have to remember to be a little bit more aggressive on saying how to do it. Like, no.
You need to put a swivel up at the top.
Yeah. So anyway, this is still tethered. So as you can see, the payloads are getting up. So we got we got two of the payloads. We got the parachute and then two payloads. And then yeah, that's just another picture of it closer. Okay, this is, you want to talk about?
Stop that.
I don't know how to stop it. Okay.
Okay, watch this. Well, okay, let her go. Watch the bottom. See there, it goes, hits the.
Boom, hits the car, hit the truck. That's what happens when you don't get them all off the ground before you let loose.
How that camera gets it all together, I don't.
Yeah,
Software.
yeah, it's all software. Because you can see things are spinning. But the that 360 camera stabilizes it.
Okay. So now can you go to the video that I had queued up?
Okay. So see, there's still a payload on the ground. There's let them up. Okay. That is this GPS one that I'll show you in a minute.
Up in there. Let's back at it now. It was flowing.
And so see, we weren't off the ground. We were not off the ground when that launched. And that was the mistake. And
There we go.
and it ended up, the string broke between this piece and the rest of it. So this one didn't get off the ground. Then we had extra lift. Yep.
To the next video.
This one. Okay. That's the one we just did.
Okay, now you can watch it again.
So see it bounce and wham right into that truck and break the string.
Don't know whose truck it was.
No. Fortunately, it was a styrofoam box and didn't damage the truck. But the views are really cool. And you can go to on YouTube and look up PHAB, and you can see some of our other videos, like views out from the side up at 100,000 feet, where you get where you can actually see the curve of the earth and the green below and the. Okay, next one. Didn't go. That's this one right here. Plano high altitude balloon, PHAB.
These are some of the pictures that were taken.
Yeah. And then the next thing is like, okay, can you figure out which lakes are which? And you can with a map, but just off the top of your head is kind of hard. It's kind of like flying in an airplane and looking out the window trying to figure out where am I? So the dark of space and the ground. And yeah, 77 or yeah, 77,714.
It's the stratosphere.
I don't know. I don't know. So, and you can see a little bit of the curve of the earth. And I tell that to the flat earthers and they go, "Oh, it's your camera. You're using a fisheye lens."
Slow scan television.
Oh, this is slow scan television. Okay.
Between 4 and 12 miles, which makes it between 20,000 and roughly 60,000 feet.
Okay, so we're above that. Yeah, we're above that. So this is some of our slow scan TV. So you can be watching this if you have the receiver and the equipment, you can be watching this real time from your home even. Yeah, because once we get up in the air, the range is really, really good. So just lots of, this first one here is at 66,000 feet or 60,000 feet, 64,000, 72,000, 76, 80,000, and 83,000. And that, I don't know what happened there, but
Transmission.
oh, that was the last transmission. Yeah.
Play that one.
Okay. Yeah. Let's play this one. 30 seconds. Oh, we had one where, yeah, if this is the one I think it is. We always wanted to see how the balloon pops. So we put a camera facing up to the balloon to see what's that thing look like when it pops? So that was kind of cool. And again, the air is so thin up there. Do you want to see it again? Yeah, I thought so.
That's the sun.
Yeah. It is kind of cool. No. So, all right, let's go on. Is this the same or another one? That's a different view. But we did a lot of launches before we thought about taking a picture of the balloon pop. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, this one, yeah, we're coming down now. And you would think with all that open field, we wouldn't land in trees, but but we do on occasion. Yeah. Or we we can see the balloon, but there's a bull in the pasture. So one time I remember we pretty much everybody was on the right road and stopped because we thought we knew where it was going to land, and we actually saw it land. So we've done that once. I thought it was farther north, but it might have been. Then another time, well, the Hillsborough one, the guy was tracking it and he goes, it's going to land here somewhere. And he looked in his rearview mirror and it landed on the road right behind him as he was driving down the road.
One of my buddies has a helicopter, and I literally flew in a helicopter. I had a D700 and it was telling us where to go. And the guys on the ground got there before we did.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. He's going, it's got to be around here somewhere. And then he looked in his rearview mirror and it landed right in the road right behind him. We've had another one land right next to the road, but most of the time they've been a little farther out. Okay. Are we supposed to, is that giving us a link? Oh, okay. Well, so this is actually the APRS tracking. So each red dot is a APRS ping. And like I said, when you get on APRS FI, it's really interesting to see who can see what pings and how far. And yeah, the top one's real and the bottom was predicted. Yeah, it's amazingly good. And what they do is they get their data from the weather balloons that launch every 12 hours. And so they base their data on that. That's a much, well, that shows, I think, all of the repeaters that saw it in this area. And you can see where the track was. But like I said, altitude is everything. You can yeah, that's Wichita. There's Tulsa. And down here, that's San Antonio. So we're down there. And then that's Abilene. So, like I say, altitude is everything. Now, this is another view of what's going on. This is a satellite view of the Earth, and then they show the track with the altitude. So you get a relative idea of what it's doing relative to the land. So that's kind of cool. So you can see where it tracks on the land, on the ground. And you can see how it, oops, back. You can see how it curved. It was going that way and then it comes back and comes around. So yeah, these are kind of cool simulations. So on this one, we burst at 90,000 feet, a little over, almost 91,000. And the furthest contact was from Johnson Space Center to our Lake Texoma. This one didn't go very far. It went 16.9. The longest one we've done was 100 miles. Yeah, it shouldn't. Well, actually, what happened was we decided to just not give it a lot of lift and just see how far it would go. And it started coming down before we thought it would leave Texas. And it didn't. It started coming down and we said, ah. So then we had the big decision. Do we go get it or not? So it was out by Mount Pleasant. And so we said, oh, what the heck? We got nothing to do this afternoon. We'll go get it. And then that was the one we found it, but it was too high in a tree to recover. And then that's when we said, okay, we're going to bring a saw next time.
That's why we put a beeper on that one that we had so that you could hear it.
Yeah, because we were having troubles finding it because it was covered up in the branches of the tree way really high up. So lessons learned. Each time we fly, we learn something new. This one was secure the payloads with proper string so we don't lose any. The tethered launch was the biggest problem on this one, I think. Let all the payloads get off the ground before we release. He didn't like the frequency that we used, and we should have a PL tone for the crossband repeater input. I think we lost the crossband repeater because we think the batteries got too cold. So again, insulate. And you don't have to be real fancy on insulating. Bubble wrap works really well. I mean, you're not up there forever. It's, and I guess he had problems with the SSTV antenna and they had an accidental disconnect. Oh, yeah. And then we also ran into some really, really narrow roads out in the boondocks. And so, yeah, one lane. And so, when we got 5-10 cars tracking, go down that one road, just send one car down there, see if there's a way out. Yeah. And carpool a little bit more. So this was all the people that were involved. Tony was basically did all the payloads. I did the balloon. Doug had his box. Landon was a co-pilot navigator. Roger had a box. Brady had a box. Nick had a payload. Eric helped us get a launch site. John KCOL had the best prediction of to where it was land, so he was the closest when it landed. And then Jason helped edit the video.
2.0 has our video somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then, yeah, bunch of people helped pictures like Doug here. I think that's it. Oh, nope. Oh, our advertisements. Of course. I don't know what he was talking about, or what he was thinking, but September 1st, 21st is the QSO party. It's our launch. It's the Plano Balloon Festival. It's like everything is that weekend.
We're not subject to change. Watch the information in the.
Yeah, watch the information. And if the weather's bad, we'll move it to another weekend because we have tried to launch in 10-mile-an-hour winds, and the balloon took off and none of the payloads took off. Because as soon as we let that thing, this is before we were doing tethered launches, as soon as we let that thing go, the wind caught it and just popped that string because of the inertia from the payloads just being stationary. That's where we learned use the tethered launch and not to launch if it's windy. Pardon? It's a pretty good, it's like 100-pound test. It's pretty good. It's pretty strong, but yeah.
Strings similar to the
Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, our site we'll announce that when we get closer. We know that these two trackers, the KE5GDB and the W5 ATC11, will be there, and we will also be tracking it on Sunday Hub. because he's really been getting excited about that lately. He goes out and hunts down uh these these are what they take up with the weather balloons. And of course, they come down and as they come down, they're still broadcasting their GPS position. And so you can find out pretty close to where they land. And that you go get them. And then there's a whole subgroup of people that reprogram them for balloon launches and stuff.
The students at UTD have taken one of these sonodes or whatever they're called and reprogrammed it, and they have a fox hunt. And when they put the fox out on the UTD campus, and that's their fox hunt. So you have to walk to wherever it is.
Yeah, it's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with these things. And you can go on this website and you can see where they are all over the world. And it's kind of cool. I just found out about it like last week. Are they what? Oh yeah, we can do payloads, especially if they're light. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to.
Another LoRa, 15 megahertz. One of the lightest.
Fine.
By default, also a repeater, probably in the neighborhood of 30 megs.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the Sonda Hub runs at about 403.2 something, 21 or something like that. So they're not in the amateur band, but you can reprogram them. People, like I said, there's a subgroup that learns all these stuff about them and learns how to reprogram them and learn all that. So that's kind of cool. And like I said, you can just pick them up along the side of the road. You go to their map and see where they end up. And if you're the first one there, you got it.
Hope there's no bulls in the field.
And hope there's no bulls in the field. So there's for more information, you can go to the W5 or K5WRK.org /balloons. And we also have a email list, the Park Balloon one, and it only is active when we're getting ready to do a balloon. So you're not getting buried with a bunch of stuff that you're not interested in between balloons. And then you can also email Andrew directly. And is anybody thinking they might want to join us on this next flight on the 21st? Hands? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And we usually, after we get it, then we find a restaurant, we'll go. And then a lot of times we'll be able to see pictures that were taken during the flight up in the air at the restaurant. It's kind of fun.
And even if you don't chase, you can always listen on your handy talkie or your.
Yeah. And especially when with our repeaters going, you don't even have to go. You can just sit there and you can watch it on the APRSFI. Yes. I think that's evolved. Yeah. Yes. This is pretty expensive stuff. No. There is one of Andrew's first early ones did get lost. The APRS went off. So another reason, 2 APRS units. And the other thing we learned is distributed power. Don't have everything on one power supply or one set of batteries. Every packet should have its own battery or its own power, because that was what we think happened with that one of his, is that he had just one pretty good sized battery. And something happened and they lost power and they lost GPS. They lost everything and they lost probably about $600 to $800 worth of equipment loaded off somewhere, and they had no idea where it could be. More questions? Because I think this is it. But it'll be a lot of fun. Oh, I forgot. I brought this. This is our #1 GPS unit. This is usually the one that's right underneath the balloon. And this is Tony's, and this is probably done if it hasn't done 17, it's done 16 of the flights. It uses a hose bib for the insulator. And so on this side, you've got a battery. And this is the Argent, a little Argent radio for the tracker. And there was a little yeah, it's here. There's a little Argent, one of those $10 GPS units from U-Box that is keeping track of oh, it's right here. Yeah. Is our GPS, and it just works, and it goes up there, and we've never had a problem with this one. So yeah, did you want to show that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's part of my system here. Here's the radio that's transmitting. This is a Tiny Track 4 TNC that's been cannibalized here. This hooks up to the radio. There's the GPS unit. The GPS is one of those that are from Bionics, and it's certified to go up above 64,000. The other end of this thing is attached to a little Arduino Nano that's hooked up to the external sensors. We have a switch here. This is how I power the thing, put the batteries on and get it all ready to go. And then when we're ready, plug these two together and it gives power to everything. But it worked.
All right. I think that's it. All right.
Who has, oh, there's the clicker. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you coming and spending time, especially on such short notice. For those that don't know, Andrew was the one that was going to do this presentation, and he got called out of town at the last minute. And so Doug and Kip stepped in and filled the void.